Hello and welcome to the Northeast Ohio Media Group Candidate Debates. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mara Zurich. Today we're hosting a debate for the Independent City Council up for election November 3rd. In a moment, the candidates will introduce themselves, but first, here are our rules for the debate. We'll start with 1 minute each for each candidate to introduce him or herself and explain why he or she is running. Then we'll ask questions, giving each candidate 90 seconds to answer and a minute for any follow-up. At the end, we'll allow 10 minutes for the candidates to ask each other questions with 60 seconds permitted for the answers. Councilman Asseff, would you like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Carl Asseff. I am seeking my 4th term as council at large. I'm a practicing physician. My practice is in Independence, in the heart of Independence. And I'm seeking re-election because the job isn't done. We have economic development to continue. That's the lifeline of the City of Independence. And when you rely on 97% of business income to support the city needs, it's a very, very critical element to have further development. We have a downtown area that needs to be redeveloped, which has been neglected for too many years. And then we have the new Rockside Road areas for additional business facilities to come in. And we have to continue to compete with our amenities with the City of Cleveland, who are certainly looking at some of our businesses.
All right, Councilman Grendel, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you. My name is David Grendel. I'm seeking a 7th term to council. I was on for 5 terms from 2000 to 2009, and then seeking re-election for a 2nd term now at this go-around. I've also served 9 years on the Independent School Board back in the 80s and early 90s. I've been 35 years. I've been an attorney, self-employed, and for the last nearly 25 years, actually nearly 30 years, I've been an attorney in the City of Independence, having my office there on Brecksville Road. I'm married to Carrie. We're both lifelong residents of Independence, and we have 4 children and 2 grandchildren with more grandchildren on the way too. So it's a growing family. But the reason why I'm running is I've loved the city and the potential and of what things are going to happen in the future are just tremendous.
All right, Councilwoman, go ahead.
Thank you, Maura. My name is Patti Wisnieski, and I'm seeking re-election for my 9th term on City Council. I served 10 years and then was term limited and sat out for those 2 years. Over the course of the 16 years, I've been vice mayor twice, served 4 years. I've served on the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. I currently am chairman of the Safety Committee and serve on the Finance Committee and the Economic Development Growth Committee. My current employment is with Great West Financial. I'm a retirement plan counselor. I am married to Red Wisnieski. He's a lifelong resident. We have 2 kids, Elaine and Patrick. Seeking re-election. Over this course of the 16 years, I've tried to develop a professional common sense approach to city government, and I'd like to continue to do that.
All right,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Veverka, you're up.
Hi, I'm Dale Veverka, and I am a 50-year resident of Independence. I'm a retired teacher. My family and I have lived in Independence my wife and I have lived in Independence since 1979. I particularly took an interest in Independence politics recently and would like to take the opportunity to represent citizens in Independence. What I've done over the past couple of years, I ran in 2013 and just narrowly missed a seat. And in the 2 years since, I've been working hard to attend as many meetings and other activities of the council so that I could be prepared to represent the citizens at the council and the council activities. A little bit more of my background. I graduated from Independence High School, and so did my 3 children. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates. Let's kick off the questioning with term limits. Mayor Greg Kurtz has served on and off again for more than 2 decades, but Independence will have a new mayor in November after voters rejected changing the charter to extend term limits. Did you support the push to change the city charter to allow 3 consecutive terms? Councilwoman Wisnieski, would you like to go first?
Well, I believe in term limits. experienced term limits. As I said, council can run 5 2-year terms or 10 years. So I did serve those 10 years, and I sat out 2 years. And I really think it's a good thing to sit out and regroup and get a new perspective and come back. So I do believe in term limits.
All right, Mr. Veverka, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. I did support the term limits in the past and was fairly vocal about the fact that it's important to have an opportunity to get some new voices, to get some new folks in place that have an opportunity to bring in some different viewpoints, different ideas, different thoughts that the folks currently on council might not think about. So it brings a wide variety of opinions in place when we've limited the amount of time a person can serve.
All right, Councilman Grendel?
I'm in agreement with my fellow candidates here, and that term limits is good. It's good that it gives you a chance to, if you do happen to get 5 terms as a council person or 2 terms as a mayor, gives you a chance to sit back, to evaluate, let other people have the opportunity to serve their community. And I think it doesn't allow for staleness or somebody that thinks that position, is their birthright or they own it. I think it's something to show that it's a group effort and it's healthy. I mean, I wish we had it at the national level. We might not have some of the problems we have.
All right, Councilman Asseff?
I agree with my colleagues. I fully supported it, and I was vocal about it. It was a very important thing because to extend terms on a whim and a fancy, and that's what I looked at this, there was no reason. There was no crisis. There were no real issues. It was time to move on, to bring in additional people with new ideas, fresh ideas, or even many of the same ideas, but implementing them differently. But we needed freshness, and that's what it's about. Being in government is not a lifetime occupation. We're here to deliver the very best we can, do it with a pure heart, and then we back away.
All right. Mr. Veverka, do you have any follow-up on that? Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
All right, Councilwoman?
I just want to say, historically speaking, Independence has had term limits, and it's worked quite well. So for me, I felt, just looking back historically, look, that's worked very well for us, so I wanted it to continue. There was no immediate need to change it.
All right, Councilman Grendel?
I agree. It gives opportunities to other individuals who normally wouldn't. If you had no term limits, you could have potentially the same people in office for decades, and no change of perspective, and kind of you almost get to the point where you don't listen to the people. You think, I know better than the residents do. So it's good to get different perspectives, different talents, such like when Doc came on board, you have a doctor, you have people from all walks of life, which blends well together.
All right, Councilman Asseff, anything else you'd like to add?
Well, looking at it as even as we sit at this table, we have different generations, age groups, different thoughts, different perspectives, different yardsticks. Even though there's 12 inches in it, you got a different yardstick to measure what you're measuring. And therefore, in the discussion, in synergy, we hopefully come up with the best approach to solving a problem.
Great, thank you all. All right, so on the topic of charter changes, would you support a change to allow apartments or other multifamily housing to be built in Independence? Why or why not? Councilman Asseff, why don't you start us off?
Well, I'm neither for it or against it at this point. But we look at what we need and what do our employers need to service their employees. What are the amenities? Today, things have changed. The individuals don't want to live far away from where they work and live. How can we accommodate with the assets we have to best fit that need, yet without destroying the culture and the feeling of what Independence is? That's going to be the task of this next council, to look at this and look at this hard, because there are plans out there, not cast in concrete, but plans of what we can do, not necessarily what we will do. And they were well formulated, and experts come in and looked at stuff. So from that aspect, I neither support nor non-support these things. Let's see what the facts bring out and what we can do to deliver the amenities that are needed.
All right, Councilwoman Wisnieski, would you like to go next?
Sure. Well, historically, our residents have been against any type of apartments and condos, but on the other end, there seems to be a need to address our seniors and really our young people some type of alternative living. So while I can't say what's best, apartments, condos, I do know we need to address it. So if we can do that by detached housing, then I would like to start there and then take a look at what would be the next best alternative.
All right, Mr. Veverka, your turn.
It's not that I would support or not support. The difficult part of this is the plan that was given to the city, the economic development plan, suggested that having live, work, and play in the same place was something that's valuable. So that's something that's been brought up to the council. It's something that I've watched them try to deal with. I know that one of the biggest needs in town is the fact that we need to deal with the folks that are older, and they need to have options. And hopefully some of those options will be made available. But as far as specifically whether it would be apartments or other choices, we need to have ones that will work for our community.
All right, Councilman Grendel.
Well, this, and Councilwoman Wisnieski had mentioned, traditionally, the City of Independence has always been dead set against any kind of apartments or condominiums. But I think, you know, we're now in the 21st century. The younger generation, they tend to rather rent than own. And we have to realize that we're looking now to the future. We're not looking in the past. We should be open to all opportunities. We have an area of town, the Northwest Quadrant, that might lend itself to be, it might be ideal to have either, well, I don't know about apartment living, but condominium living or alternative types of living arrangements. We have a downtown area that's ripe for development too. So I think it's our duty to keep an open mind. Ultimately, the citizens will decide, but it's up to us to promote the best idea that's for our community, not just now in 2015, but looking out to 2030, 2040, and try to project what's best for Independence.
All right, now does the city need some type of senior living, whether it be independent, assisted, memory care? Do you think the city could benefit from having something along those lines? Mr. Veverka, you can go ahead.
Well, I've spent more time than I want to admit talking to the folks at the seniors. And one of the sad things about going to a seniors meeting is when you discover how many folks have been forced to leave. They move to adjoining communities because adjoining communities are the only ones that have potential facilities, whether it be assisted living, whether it be nursing care or otherwise. So they go to Seven Hills, or they go to Brecksville, they go to Sagamore Hills, they go to other places, and they're no longer able to finish living their lives in the town that they've grown up to live and love. So I mean, that is one of the reasons. I know there was a proposal put out recently about having a facility in town, and I think that's still hanging fire.
All right, Councilman Grendel.
Well, that brings up a good point, is that we've been attempting. I know, I've served with Patti for many years. We had a couple of issues on the ballot hoping to have a senior facility, but as Doc has mentioned a number of times too, there's no, what is a senior facility? Is it independent living, assisted living? Is it just 55 and over living? So there's different categories of senior housing, but definitely we need to look at that, because it doesn't mean substandard housing. It means to enrich and allow people of all, it doesn't matter what kind of health situation they're in, but an opportunity to continue living in town in a dwelling that fits their needs, and hopefully we'll be able to deliver those opportunities.
All right, Councilman Asseff.
Well, I support senior housing, but again, we have to define what we're talking about. Because there are many who want to downsize who don't need a full speculum of needs. They can take care of themselves. There's those that are supportive and what have you. And then where do you put it? Do you put it in areas that are supportive for our businesses, or do other areas which aren't as critical? Because we look at downtown area, which is one of the areas that have been looked at or talked about, and will that then support the businesses around there, or will it not? Those are questions. And then who's going to pay for it? And can you say to someone who has a home of $150,000, $160,000, they're going to sell it, will they buy something that's more costly than that and take on a mortgage? The probability is they won't. So you've got a lot of financial issues, as well as planning issues, as well as location issues and needs. And that has to come together, discussed, formulated, and then you make your plans. Well, this sounds like it is what we need to do.
All right, Councilwoman.
I absolutely think we should have that type of facility in our town. And I've heard that where, okay, what does senior housing mean? But if you go to Grand Village, or there's a place called Parker Place in Mentor, if you go to those facilities, they have all 3 levels. So whatever stage of life you're in, you can enter that facility that's appropriate for you. And then as your needs change, you can go to the different locations. And I absolutely would love to and think we should have something like that in Independence.
All right, Councilman Grendel, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, just we're not reinventing the wheel there. There's a lot of examples that are in the greater Cleveland area, beautiful and wonderful examples that our residents could use. It's just a matter of doing a good job of selling our residents that this is outstanding for our community. And again, there's no drawbacks to it. A lot of people they fear, and the fear mongers like to rattle that. But I think we certainly have areas that senior housing can go in. It's just a matter of getting the right fit that we can sell to people on.
All right, Mr. Veverka, any additional thoughts?
Well, the good news is that we have lots of models. We have lots of different surrounding community facilities to look at. So it's not like we're at a position where we got to start out at ground zero. I know one of the concerns I had with one of the proposals they had was they wanted to simply do assisted living, and they didn't want to have the other levels of care. And one of the problems with that is, okay, so they care you for so long, and then you're at a position when you need to have full nursing care, or you need to be in a position that you need to be in an Alzheimer's unit. And in those cases, then if you don't have all 3 levels, you're basically stuck. And then you need to leave the community anyway.
All right, Councilman Asseff, anything else?
Well, I agree with that. We're talking about delivering a need. Identifying the need is critical. And then once we do that, what is the impact on the city of Independence? Because if we have people downsizing, moving into assisted living and those kinds of things, that means those homes will open up for sale, and that will be areas for younger people to move in, young families and what have you. So it's not just one area that gets impacted, the whole city will get impacted.
All right, Councilwoman Wisnieski, anything else you'd like to share?
No, I just, I'm excited to address this issue in the upcoming term, should I be elected.
Great, thank you. So Independence is a small city. What more can Independence do to share services and collaborate with its neighbors? All right, Councilman Asseff, would you like to go first?
Well, we've tried to look at that, and we do share some things with Brecksville and some of the other communities, especially in the emergency response and support, so with fire and police and those things. But it needs to go further. Every city, every small town has money problems. Money drives the systems. How can we best save yet deliver those services that we're accustomed to? Because there are a lot of times where the equipment facilities are down, they're not being used, and could be used somewhere else. And can you share that downtime with that? Snow plowing, street resurfacing, I think we share with Brecksville some of the street resurfacing. They have the equipment to do it, we don't, and it makes a lot of sense. So, but it really means you take the ego out of the decisions and find out what does it take for a win-win for both communities or 3 communities or what have you. That's the key, because money is the cost, and anywhere we can save $1 here, we can put it into something else that we need.
All right, Councilman Grendel, would you like to go next?
Well, I agree that we've already had some consortiums as far as like buying supplies for the rock salt for the winter time. And so we've done a number of things that we've had in place for a number of years that do save the taxpayers money. And we work as a group, again, with we have the relationship with the fire departments that work together and police departments, and that maybe looking at dispatch that could possibly go over, that we're not duplicating things. So there's always efficiencies that you can achieve, and the big thing is just getting the workforce to approve that, because you have union contracts that too that are specific to your city. So it's a delicate issue, but it's something that I think that as time goes on and as money gets more and more scarce and costs go up, that we need to look at and forge more relationship with our neighboring cities, because again, we're small, and it makes more sense to have 3 or 4 cities join up and provide services. So it's something that I think if you have mayors that work together and that could bring elected officials, I think you can get efficiencies that way. But it takes time. It's not easy.
All right, Councilwoman Wisnieski, your turn.
Yes, I agree with my colleagues. We do have some form of those sharing resources, mutual aid. We've, our service departments are overlapping. It takes, I think just taking a step back and looking at how we do things in the city and whether the way we do them is the best way to do it. And if not, how we can contact other communities and again, develop those relationships and find a better way to share those resources.
All right, Mr. Veverka?
Well, besides the service department and the safety forces, I know that we also, in the building department area related to inspections and some other things, that we have some commonality. So I agree that when we have an opportunity to be able to share, that's good. I think we have to keep a mindful eye on the fact that we're not over-giving cooperation, that it's a give and take situation, because we are in a fortunate situation financially. So we do need to be a little bit careful with, as we are cooperating, that we're not being taken advantage of. So.
All right. Anything else anyone would like to add?
Well, I think that what we have with the internet and the ability to contact anyone, any city in the nation, to ask how they do it if we're running into some issues. Let's see what their ideas are. They may spark something that we didn't think of and share it with our communities around us, because we all have the money issues. And anywhere we can save, as I point out, we can use it for something else more important, internal, of which we would not necessarily have the money for.
All right. Councilman Grendel, anything you'd like to add?
Well, the only thing, too, to be mindful is that we want to make sure that our level of services stay at, and we've been pretty fortunate, they've been at a high level. And our residents expect, to have those kind of services. We don't want to do anything and join, just for the sake of joining other communities if it means our residents are going to suffer, either in services that they get or maybe the response time or things of that nature. So we have to be very careful that we're doing it, we're saving money, but we also have to make sure that our level of services remain at a high level that we have right now.
All right. Councilwoman, anything else?
No.
All right. Mr. Veverka, anything?
Yeah, Dave, you're right, spot on. I mean, the biggest thing is we have excellent services, we have excellent situation, and we do need to be careful that we don't put ourselves in a position to put us at a disadvantage because we're spending an effort being cooperative. I mean, cooperative is good, but not to the point that we're being cooperative to the detriment of our own citizens.
I'd like to add another comment: cooperative but not consumed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. Residents have been buzzing about a new downtown for this city. What would you like this downtown to look like, and what do you hope to see happen? Mr. Veverka, you can go ahead.
All right. Well, I would like to see additional shops. I'd like to see a very workable center of town. The one big problem we have is if we can get the citizens to support that center of town. We have a fairly small population. It would be great to have the center of town developed, and I'm very happy that we're able to maintain the center of town that we do have. But to be able to get people to support it, to be able to get the people from the Rockside area to come into the center of town, a lot of the people on Rockside believe that Rockside Road is the center of town, and they focus all their activity there. So to get them to, quote, come up the hill, to be involved and to utilize the development in the center of town is a key. So it would be great to see what we could manage to develop and make that area user-friendly, not only to the citizens, but also to attract the people up from Rockside Road.
All right. Councilwoman?
We have to be very careful to keep a balance. When I have been going door to door, I keep hearing people say, we don't want Rockside Road in the center of town. So we want it to be vibrant, we want it to be growing. We want to maintain a lot of green space and for it to be walkable, and there has to be places to walk to, but at the same time, we don't want it to become Rockside Road.
All right, Councilman?
It is a big thing that I know a lot of people like to have it the way it is right now. I mean, because you can zip through downtown, and many of our own residents don't spend a lot of time down there because you only have, well, Doc's office, you have a funeral home, and you have a shopping center with just a few shops in it. So in order to have it vibrant, you're going to have to bring in, you're going to have some kind of housing where people are actually living there, like the walkability. It's a fine balance. You don't want to overdevelop it and have more headaches than you had before, but yet the city owns so much property there. The middle school property, the property on the west side of the street has been wasted opportunity. I mean, there's been no tax revenue coming out of that, and it's really you know, kind of like an eyesore. I think we have some ideas. I think we should forge ahead, and it's going to be a fine, a delicate balance between residential, some retail, and possibly, oh, I'm trying to think, like restaurants, things of that nature. But for them to thrive, they have to have people within walking distance too. And we do have some plans there to work with. That's, I'm excited to, you know, we don't agree with everything in the plans, but I think that if we implement a good many of them, you know, we're going to see a vast improvement of that downtown area.
All right, Councilman Asseff?
Well, Rockside Road is the business district, period. That's what it is. And we cannot allow the center of town to be a business district. That should be a destination place, a place where people identify, our citizens from Brecksville or the surrounding areas come on in, nice little shops, but we have to have volume and people living there too, because there have been many businesses that have been there have failed. They just wasn't have the volume to support. So it's going to be a balance. What do we want to see in there? We need green space. I have different concepts than some of other my council. I think row houses with open green spaces, with flowers, with fountains, with all kinds of stuff, and surrounded on the periphery with shops and businesses, whatever. But it's going to take planning, and it's going to take good developers to come in. The thing I would like to see happen is imploding of the old middle school. Just tomorrow morning, it's gone. That means that something is starting to happen. And we've got to really show our citizens that we're serious about this now and makes the center of town something that makes it a destination place, the pride of Independence.
Right, now you and some of the other candidates have mentioned that retail does not seem to do quite as well as it should in that area. Partly maybe it's because there is no houses in walking distance yet. Residents are hoping for, you know, bars, cafes, little restaurants. Will that be possible? Is that something that we could see happen? Councilman, would you like to go first?
I think it's a balance of different businesses. One area I really want to see there is a real home for the arts. So something that you know, brings people downtown, and then again the cafes or some place that they can go to after going to you know, some type of an event, art show, or some type of a musical or that.
All right, Councilman Asseff?
Well, I agree with those concepts. We need the proper build-out, which will bring people and include people who want to live in the downtown area. If we don't have anybody living down there, we're going to have the same problems we had all along, where shops would come in, start up, and then close because of lack of business. So it's a balance of what does it take to make it something where someone wants to live, downsizing, smaller homes, what have you, being still able to have income that they can spend, discretionary income, and shop owners who come in and say, geez, I can make a business here, I can make a profit here. And that's what it's going to take. And the plans as they come in will be at the scrutiny then of council to either approve or disapprove, or hopefully just suggest the modifications. Disapproval meaning, no, we won't go with this. Wait a minute, there is some value in there. What is the value we want, and what is the value we can add to it?
All right, Mr. Veverka?
Well, one of the biggest constraints is the size of the area of acreage, even downtown, that puts kind of a limit on what can be done. As I walk from the bank to the drugstore, to the coffee shop, and across to the parts store, and to the sub shop, and over to the florist, I mean, one of the things you notice is there are definite limitations, and we need to really concentrate and very carefully plan how we're going to make it fit. How can we get the pieces to fit? How can we get the folks to be able to live in that area and be able to frequent those different shops? Because obviously you're not going to be able to put shops there if people don't support them, whether it be the bakery, whether it be the drugstore, parts store, you name it. We have to have the people participating in a way that they are involved. And that's the kind of commitment I think we need to have from the people.
All right, Councilman Grendel?
Well, and we have to stress with the people, it's not going to happen overnight. It shouldn't happen overnight. It should be a gradual change to something that's going to be viable with a lot of input from the public. But I agree with Doug. We can eliminate the middle school building. I think that's uplifting because that's been vacant for 10 years now at least. And the idea was that it was going to open up the downtown area for development. But I agree. I think that we need to not look at a grand scale, but what would work there, and a blend of having kind of an arts or a rec area there, along with housing and some small retail and restaurants and bars like that. I think that would work, and I think people have to realize that it's not going to be the traffic situation is not going to be terrible. Look, Brecksville has a viable downtown. Hudson has a viable downtown. I think it's something that we just have to get adjusted to and used to, but I think that we definitely need to make better use of that downtown area.
All right, Mr. Veverka, any other thoughts?
I think that's the key is how we develop that small area that we have available in an effective way to be able to attract people to come down and make sure that those people are involved and are willing to spend some money and to make sure that those businesses are viable.
All right, Councilman Asseff, any other thoughts?
Yes, I think we've taken a great first step forward. And now we have a memorandum of understanding with, I think, Fairmount to look at this and come in with suggestions of plans and development. We're moving forward out of what we were in a very stagnant situation. So I'm excited about this. Let's see what they bring back.
All right, Councilman.
I just want one positive thing of this is that the city owns so much of the land that at least we don't have to worry about a lot of different property owners having to get their approval or eminent domain or that. We have the land. It's just a matter of getting the right ideas and getting implemented with those.
All right, Councilwoman Wisnieski.
And I don't want us to be just married to the area that we're looking at right now in this downtown area. There's plenty of acreage other than what we consider the center of town. If you look behind Concordia Lutheran, if you look behind the former LTV property, if you look all along Brecksville Road, all of that can be tied in together. And if you're looking to bring people downtown, connect those areas as well.
All right, one of the biggest complaints I hear from residents is Rockside Road. They say traffic there is terrible, especially during rush hour. What can the city do to improve the flow of traffic? All right, Councilman Grendel, would you like to go first?
Well, we're working on plans now to make it a little easier maybe to get onto the ramps, both the southbound and northbound ramps of 77 off of Rockside going east. So there's a number of things we can do from a traffic standpoint. The other thing is, I mean, it's, you're looking in relation to if anybody's ever been to Chagrin Boulevard or up and down the 271 corridor. I mean, we're no different than them, and I think it's sometimes even better than that. But we can always, we've always been striving to see what we can do at that intersection to improve things, and maybe there's other things we can do, such as if we go forward with Rockside Woods North, as far as with the sewer and then building that road to Brecksville Road. That's going to give another way for people to get onto 77 North going that way. It's just you have to have better use of the arteries you have and what you can do to get traffic moving quicker. But I really think compared to how it used to be, even before we widened Rockside Road in the 90s, and that I think it's gotten better. And you just got to be, if you like the tax revenue that it's generating and the services that it provides for you, I think you could live with a little bit of traffic congestion.
All right, Councilwoman, go ahead.
Well, I agree with Dave. It's definitely gotten better when we started to widen Rockside Road, but we need to do a better job, and there are some areas that we can do that. Connector roads. I do think we need to take a look at the on and off ramps and some other ideas or areas. The problem that we run into is it's so expensive and the city's resources are kind of spread out. So when we're looking at, okay, do we renovate or do we redo a certain development, we have to balance all the road projects we're doing between the residential and Rockside Road. So I agree, we do need to do some more renovating to make traffic flow better.
All right, Councilman?
We have to look at, we were successful, but success brought these problems. Poured a lot of money into Rockside Road, widening it, and that did a great job, but we've continued to grow. And the on and off ramps, I think, are one of our bigger problems, especially during rush hour. Very, very expensive to change that, and it has to be approved by the Ohio Department of Transportation. They own those. They're not ours. So it has to meet their specs too. And in doing all this, and yet accommodating inflow, outflow, it becomes a real difficult problem. I mean, we're looking at all the various back roads, crossroads, whatever kinds of things, but that isn't going to be the final answer. That can reduce the flow, but if we become more successful, we're going to have still additional problems. So we've got to look at that and say, what can we do? Can there be timed employees? Not that I want to dictate to anybody. A certain group arrives at 8, a certain group arrives at 8:30. Pulse them in, pulse them out. I think, doesn't Cleveland Clinic with their business center do that? Yeah, they have some pulse times. So that works, and you never see in front of Seelig Road, that entrance, big traffic jams. So those are some of the things that we got to work out with the employers and say, what can we do to help make this better while we're trying to make it better with more brick and mortar?
All right, great. Mr. Veverka, you're up.
My turn. Well, the one thing that we have been working on, that council's been working on, is the fact that it's such a prolonged period of time between wanting to get something done and it happening. I mean, the Ohio Department of Transportation are the ones that dictate what you can do, when you can do it, and how long the studies have to be. There are land acquisition issues. There's all sorts of other things that are involved in this. So despite the fact that, you know, Joe Lunchbox sitting there at Rockside Road waiting for his turn to get through that one last traffic light at the pinch point, may not realize that in the past few years, the council group has worked hard with the administration to try to alleviate some of the problem. But it's just moves at a snail's pace simply because there are so many hoops that have to be jumped through on the way. So, you know, obviously looking at any other alternative possibilities or things that we can do to help speed the flow of traffic is what we need to do. When it comes down to timing lights, or as you said before, timing arrival times, anything else that can be done is something that should be considered to try to alleviate the problems related to traffic.
All right, Councilwoman Wisnieski, anything you'd like to add?
I just want to kind of play off what Councilman Asseff said about, yeah, when we expanded Rockside Road, we thought that was going to alleviate most of our issues, which it did for a while, but then, as he mentioned, when we got more successful or more businesses came, then the traffic again began to jam up. So it'll be an ever-changing situation, but I know we're really trying to communicate with the businesses so that we get first-hand information as to what their situations are, so we can address them. But it'll be a work in progress.
All right, Councilman.
It's one of those issues that takes plenty of time, and there's going to be more issues arising if we start developing the northwest quadrant, because that's going to add again more vehicles. Hopefully it'll be different kind, and timing is a very big issue there. So if it's one company that goes in there, or whether it be a number of companies, hopefully that's one of the issues that we'll tackle straight on. And again, it's so difficult to work with ODOT. It'd be nice to work with them on maybe alternatives with 480 and with 77, but it's not an easy issue. It's things that take years of planning, and the cost is astronomical. So it's something that the city couldn't carry on by itself. It has to be shared with the state and federal governments too. So it's an issue that I think we're ever mindful, if we can do things just from even if it's with traffic lights and that, we should keep an eye on that too, if we can do something that's cost effective.
All right, Mr. Veverka, any other thoughts?
No.
All right, Councilman Asseff, any other thoughts?
No.
All right, thank you guys. So that's all the questions that I have for you. So now you guys get 10 minutes to ask each other questions. Councilman Asseff, would you like to start?
Thank you for the opportunity. I really don't have, I think that as we're talking here, we all have the same focus. We all want to make this city better. We want to reduce our costs wherever we can, put the money where it really counts and gives a good return to what we need, and go forward with that. Yes, we all have different ideas at times how we can do that, but certainly it can be worked out. I mean, it's not an ego issue, it's an outcome issue. And that's how I look at it, and so I don't have any specific questions to ask. I think we've all spoke very, very similarly on the goals that we have for this city. I think one of the more important things, though, is that whoever sits on council in the next terms is going to have a more significant job because we're going to have a new mayor. The new mayor coming in isn't going to be a person who knows what's going on just because they're elected. I mean, there's going to be a learning curve in there, and it's going to be hopefully that the mayor will look to council to help support and take them through that learning curve, because we're bringing in experience too. But coming off council doesn't give you the full tools you need to walk in and say, I'm now the mayor, I'm now the boss, and then everybody says, okay, boss, what do we do now? And we don't want to get that. They have to rely on us and realize we are a body of knowledge in this city, and we want to be successful for them.
All right, Councilman Grendel, anything that you'd like to ask?
Well, no, we're kind of I don't want to say we're a close-knit group, but we know each other really well. What I enjoyed these last 2 years is that we've respected each other. We might not always agree, but we respect each other. And I feel, I include Dale on that too, because he has attended so many meetings, and you feel like he's one of the, the very close, that knows what's going on, a close participant. But I think, again, as long as we keep in mind that we're making decisions not just for the present, but for for the future generations, and we want our community to rise above what the normal community would provide. And I think we all have that mindset. And I'm hopeful that the mayor, I've had 2 mayors I've served under, and different styles of leadership. And I feel one council was more part of the decision-making process. We knew a little more that was going on. We were able to have more input, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And we had another mayor that, again, different style leadership. They both were outstanding. I'm not going to say anything detrimental to either one, but he was more close to the vest and more, not a dictator, but more, keeping. So like I say, I hope that the new young mayor would allow the expertise that is on council to be a partner with him to guide this city, because Independence could be it is a tremendous city now. It could even be more a leader in the Northeast Ohio if we just have an open mind and let it grow.
All right, Councilwoman Wisnieski, anything that you'd like to add or ask?
I don't have any other questions for anybody up here. I don't really consider any of these gentlemen to be my competition. I mean, we do work hand in hand together, and I just always run my own race and try to do what I think is in the best interest of the city. And then, if we see eye to eye, we see eye to eye. If we don't, then we're just adding a new perspective. I was elected in a transition when a new mayor came in, and we just have to keep in mind that both of these gentlemen that are running for mayor have 10 years experience. So it's not like they're new to city government. So I think the residents will be in good hands, whoever they choose, but we'll just have to get used to a different style. And even as Dave was saying, both mayors that we've worked with had totally different styles, different approaches, but did really good work for the city. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the next mayor is going to add to the city.
All right, Mr. Veverka, anything that you'd like to ask?
Well, not ask, but I'd like to add to the comments from these folks. These folks have worked very hard over the years at putting their best foot forward, and I also am looking forward to whoever the next mayor is, because hopefully the new mayor will take the opportunity to really use the input from the council to continue. I mean, the more ideas, the more input you have, the better opportunity you have to do what's best for the city. And I would say that, our goal as a group is to provide as many good ideas and then be able to implement the best of those ideas. And, you know, to have that opportunity is something I'm looking forward to with whichever the new mayor happens to be.
All right, thank all of you. Anything
Yeah,
else
I'd
you'd
like
like
to
to
just
add?
add that hopefully with the new administration that they ask us our opinions and that we feel comfortable giving them. Not necessarily being the outcome, but to add to the conversation so that it stimulates more thinking and better outcome for the citizens of the city.
All right, anyone else have any additional thoughts?
Well, and there are a variety of different ways of accomplishing a goal. And the idea is, I think we all need to be aware and cognizant of the fact that working as a group can often be much more effective than working just, you know, working from the top down. So.
All right, any other thoughts? Anything else? Nope. All right, well, that's all the questions we have tonight for the Independent City Council candidates. Thanks again for joining us. Candidates, thank you all for coming. Please check back to cleveland.com to read stories about the debates, the issues, and the candidates for the upcoming election. Early voting starts October 6th.